Mark Thompson was the proud owner of Savory Haven, a renowned culinary gem in the heart of Austin, Texas. At 50, Mark had spent decades perfecting his craft, creating an exquisite menu that drew food lovers from all over the city. The restaurant, known for its welcoming atmosphere and delectable dishes, had become a beloved institution. Its warm, inviting ambience made it more than just a place to eat. It was a place to savor an unforgettable dining experience. Mark's head chef, Ethan, was a culinary genius. At 38, he had a sharp mind and a keen sense of flavor. Mark had always trusted Ethan implicitly, believing he shared the same passion for Savory Haven's success. Together, they had built a reputation that set the restaurant apart from the competition. However, a year ago, a new fast food joint named Quick Burger opened just down the street, offering cheap, quick meals. It soon began to draw away many of Savory Haven's loyal customers. Mark initially dismissed it as a passing fad, confident that his patrons would eventually return to the unparalleled quality of his cuisine. But as months passed and business continued to decline, he began to sense something more sinister at play. One evening, after another disappointingly slow night, Mark stayed late at the restaurant, poring over financial records and customer feedback. The numbers were grim and the reviews were even worse. Loyal customers were complaining about a decline in the quality of the food and service. Mark couldn't understand how things had gone so wrong so quickly. Determined to get to the bottom of it, he started paying closer attention to the kitchen's operations. He noticed subtle changes, ingredients being swapped out, dishes taking longer to prepare, and a general lack of coordination among the staff. Suspicion nagged at him, but he couldn't pinpoint the cause until one fateful night. That night, Mark decided to confront Ethan. He had noticed the chef making unauthorized changes to the menu and handling ingredients differently. As Mark approached the kitchen, he'd overheard a heated conversation between Ethan and another staff member. "Just stick to the plan," Ethan said. "Once we're out of here, this place will be a sinking ship, and I'll be at the new spot with a fresh start." Mark's heart sank. Ethan had been sabotaging Savory Haven to secure a position at a rival eatery. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. Ethan, the man he had trusted with his life's work, was the reason for the restaurant's decline. Mark felt a mix of betrayal and rage, but he knew he had to act quickly. The next day, Mark confronted Ethan, firing him on the spot. "I trusted you, Ethan. How could you do this?" Mark's voice trembled with emotion. Ethan didn't offer any apologies. He simply shrugged and walked out, leaving Mark to pick up the pieces. Despite firing Ethan, the damage had already been done. The restaurant's reputation was in tatters, and Mark found himself drowning in debt. Desperate to save his dream, he made the gut-wrenching decision to sell the property. With a heavy heart, he prepared to lock up Savory Haven for the last time. As he made his final rounds through the empty dining room, he felt a deep sense of loss. This place had been his passion, his life's work, and now it was all slipping away. With tears in his eyes, Mark stepped outside to the back alley, where he noticed a movement in the shadows. Cautiously, he approached and found a woman and a young girl huddled there, clearly in distress. The woman, whose name was Sarah, quickly apologized, explaining that she and her 6-year-old daughter, Emily, had been using the restaurant's back alley as a makeshift shelter. They had grown accustomed to getting food from the waitresses, but with the establishment now closed, they had nowhere else to turn. Mark's heart sank as he realized they were homeless, their lives in shambles. In that moment, he couldn't help but see a reflection of his own struggles in their plight. Moved by their situation, he made a split-second decision. "Stay," he told them gently. "You can help me clean up this place in exchange for food and shelter." Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you serious?" she asked, clutching Emily tightly. "We don't want to impose, please," Sarah said. Mark insisted, his voice soft but firm. "I insist. You and your daughter deserve a safe place to stay, and I could use the help getting this place in order before I sell it." His voice trailed off, the weight of his decision still heavy on his mind. Sarah studied him for a moment, searching his face for any hint of an ulterior motive, but all she saw was genuine compassion. Slowly she nodded, a tentative smile spreading across her face. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "This means more to us than you know." So Sarah and Emily made themselves at home in the quiet, empty restaurant, throwing themselves into the task of cleaning and organizing the space. Mark was amazed at the efficiency and care with which they worked. Over the next few days, he found himself drawn deeper into their world, finding a glimmer of hope amidst the ruins of his dream. Mark watched in awe as Sarah and Emily breathed new life into Savory Haven. The once neglected dining room began to regain its former glory. Sarah's attention to detail and Emily's infectious energy turned the place around. They cleaned every nook and cranny, organized the kitchen, and even polished the silverware. Mark couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of hope watching them work. One evening, after a long day of cleaning, Mark sat down with Sarah to share a simple meal she had prepared. The aroma of the food filled the air, reminding him of better days. "This is delicious," Mark said, taking a bite. "You're a talented cook." Sarah blushed and smiled. "Thank you. I used to cook a lot before everything happened." Her voice trailed off, a hint of sadness in her eyes. Mark was curious about her story, but didn't want to pry. Instead, he shared a bit of his own. "You know, this place was my dream. I spent years building it up, making it what it was. And then Ethan, he betrayed me." Sarah looked at him with sympathy. "I'm sorry. Betrayal is a hard thing to overcome. My husband, John, left us. One day he just walked out, leaving me and Emily with nothing. We lost our home, everything. I've been trying to find steady work ever since, but it's been tough." Mark felt a deep sense of empathy for Sarah. They both knew what it was like to have everything ripped away. "I understand," he said quietly, "but you're strong, and you're doing a great job here. I couldn't have asked for better help." As the days turned into weeks, Mark, Sarah, and Emily formed a close bond. They worked together tirelessly, transforming Savory Haven inch by inch. Mark was continually impressed by Sarah's culinary skills. She had an innate talent for combining flavors and creating mouth-watering dishes. One day, as Mark watched Sarah prepare a meal, he had an idea. "Sarah, how would you feel about becoming the head chef here when we reopen?" Sarah was taken aback. "Me? A head chef, Mark? I don't know what to say. I've never worked in a professional kitchen before." "But you're talented and you care about this place," Mark said with conviction. "I think we can bring Savory Haven back to life together. Please think about it." Sarah hesitated, but the hope in her eyes was unmistakable. "I'll think about it, Mark. Thank you for believing in me." With renewed purpose, they continued their work as they prepared for the reopening. Mark reached out to potential investors, knowing he needed financial backing to fully restore the restaurant and bring in customers again. Finally, the day arrived when the prospective investors were scheduled to visit. Mark was a bundle of nerves but also excited. This was their chance to save Savory Haven. As the investors arrived, Mark and Sarah welcomed them warmly. They showcased the newly renovated dining area, highlighting the changes they had made. The investors seemed impressed, but the true test would be Sarah's cooking. Mark watched anxiously as the investors sampled Sarah's dishes. He could see their expressions shift from skepticism to delight. Michael Carter, a well-respected businessman, was particularly enthusiastic. "This food is incredible," he said. "The flavors, the presentation, everything is top-notch." Just as Mark began to feel optimistic, the door opened and in walked John, Sarah's ex-husband. He immediately recognized Sarah and Emily, and his face contorted with a mixture of shock and rage. "What the hell is going on here?" John bellowed. "Sarah, get over here with Emily right now." Sarah froze, her body going rigid with fear. Emily clung tightly to her mother, eyes wide with terror. Mark quickly stepped in, positioning himself between John and Sarah. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," Mark said firmly. "This is my restaurant, and I won't tolerate any kind of abuse or harassment." John sneered. "Oh, I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I'm about to make you an offer you can't refuse. This place is a gold mine, and I want in." Mark felt his blood boil. "I think you're forgetting something," he said through gritted teeth. "This is my restaurant, and I don't take kindly to people who threaten my staff." John laughed harshly. "Your staff? That woman over there is my wife, and that little girl is my daughter. We have every right to be here," John said. Before Mark could respond, Michael Carter stepped forward. "Well, Mr. Thompson," he said calmly, "it seems you have quite a situation on your hands. But I believe in what you're doing here. I'd be honored to invest in Savory Haven on one condition." Mark felt a glimmer of hope. And what would that be? Michael smiled warmly at Sarah and Emily. "I want Sarah and Emily to remain a part of the team. Their contribution to this restaurant is undeniable, and I won't have it any other way." Mark nodded firmly. "Done. Thank you, Mr. Carter. This means the world to us." John's face twisted with anger, but he knew he was defeated. Cursing under his breath, he stormed out of the restaurant, his dreams of exploiting its success crumbling around him. As the investors finalized their agreement with Mark, he felt a surge of relief and gratitude. Savory Haven had a future once more, thanks to the unexpected alliance with Sarah and Emily. With the investment secured, Mark, Sarah, and Emily plunged into the task of fully restoring Savory Haven. The restaurant underwent a stunning transformation. The dining area was renovated with warm, inviting colors and elegant furnishings that created a cozy yet sophisticated atmosphere. The kitchen, however, was the true showpiece. It was now a state-of-the-art facility designed to accommodate Sarah's culinary magic. As they worked together, Mark and Sarah grew closer. Their shared experiences and mutual respect blossomed into a deep friendship. Emily, with her boundless energy and infectious laughter, brought a sense of joy and family to the restaurant. It was a time of hard work, but also of healing and renewal for all of them. Mark was continually amazed by Sarah's culinary skills. Her creativity and passion for food were evident in every dish she prepared. One afternoon, as they were finalizing the new menu, Mark turned to Sarah. "You know, Sarah, I've tasted food from some of the best chefs in the world, but nothing compares to your cooking. I'm truly lucky to have you here." Sarah blushed and smiled. "Thank you, Mark. That means a lot to me. I never imagined I'd have this opportunity again." Mark nodded, a serious look crossing his face. "And I never imagined finding someone who could save this place. We're a team now, and together I know we can make Savory Haven better than ever." The reopening day finally arrived, and the restaurant was packed with eager diners. Word had spread about the new and improved Savory Haven, and the anticipation was palpable. Mark and Sarah were both nervous and excited, hoping their hard work would pay off. As the evening progressed, it became clear that their efforts had not been in vain. The diners were delighted with the food, praising the flavors and presentation. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, and for the first time in a long while, Mark felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. Amid the bustling activity, Mark couldn't help but steal glances at Sarah. She moved through the kitchen with grace and confidence, barking orders to her team of chefs. The energy in the kitchen was palpable, and the aromas wafting into the dining room made even the most jaded foodies' mouths water. Towards the end of the night, after the last dish had been served and the last patron had left, Mark found Sarah in the now empty dining room. She was sitting at a table, her eyes shining with a mixture of exhaustion and pride. "Sarah," Mark said softly, sitting down across from her, I don't know how to thank you for what you've done. This place is alive again, and it's all because of you." Sarah looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mark. You gave me a chance when no one else would. You believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself." Mark reached across the table, gently taking her hands in his. "That's because you're extraordinary, Sarah. From the moment I met you and Emily in that alley, I knew there was something special about you. And now, seeing you in action, leading this kitchen with such passion and skill." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I don't want to lose you, Sarah. Not again." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she realized the implication of his words. "Mark, what are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. In response, Mark dropped to one knee, never once breaking eye contact with her. "Sarah, will you marry me?" For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Sarah stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never dared to dream that her life could take such an unexpected turn, that the man who had saved her and her daughter from despair would now be offering her his heart. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Yes," she breathed, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Mark, I will marry you." Mark let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding and rose to his feet in one fluid motion, sweeping Sarah into his arms. He twirled her around the empty dining room, their laughter echoing through the space. A joyful symphony seemed to breathe new life into the very walls of Savory Haven as Mark and Sarah held each other close. Mark knew this was more than just the reopening of his restaurant. It was the start of a new chapter, one filled with love, hope, and the promise of a future brighter than either of them could have ever imagined. 3 months later, Savory Haven was thriving. The restaurant's new look, combined with Sarah's exceptional culinary skills, had brought it back to its former glory and more. Word of mouth spread quickly, and it wasn't long before they had a waiting list of patrons eager to experience the magic of Savory Haven. Mark and Sarah had settled into a comfortable routine, balancing the demands of the restaurant with their growing relationship. Emily, now a familiar and beloved presence at the restaurant, brought joy and laughter to everyone who worked there. The once struggling restaurant had transformed into a bustling, lively place filled with the sounds of happy diners and the delicious aromas of Sarah's cooking. One evening, as the restaurant buzzed with activity, Michael Carter walked in with a group of prominent local business people. Mark greeted him warmly and showed them to a specially reserved table. The excitement in the air was palpable, as this visit could lead to even more opportunities for Savory Haven. As Sarah prepared the evening's special menu, Mark couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. He watched her move with confidence and grace, orchestrating her team like a maestro conducting a symphony. Every dish that left the kitchen was a testament to her skill and dedication. After dinner, Michael approached Mark with a broad smile on his face. "Mark, this place is phenomenal. Sarah's cooking is out of this world. We're all incredibly impressed." Mark beamed. "Thank you, Michael. We've put a lot of hard work into making Savory Haven what it is today." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "I have a proposition for you. We're looking to invest in a few top-tier restaurants to create a new dining experience across the city. We'd like Savory Haven to be the flagship." Mark's eyes widened in surprise. "That's an incredible offer, Michael. I'd need to discuss it with Sarah, of course, but it sounds like a fantastic opportunity." Michael smiled. "Take your time. I'm confident you'll make the right decision." Later that night, after the last patron had left, Mark and Sarah sat down to discuss Michael's offer. Emily had already fallen asleep in a cozy corner of the restaurant, her innocent face a reminder of how far they had come. "Sarah, what do you think about expanding Savory Haven?" Mark asked, excitement and trepidation mingling in his voice. Sarah took a deep breath, considering the possibilities. "It's a big step, Mark, But I believe in us, and I believe in what we've built here. If we can bring this same passion and quality to other locations, it could be amazing." Mark reached for her hand, his eyes filled with love and determination. "I couldn't do this without you, Sarah. You're the heart and soul of Savory Haven. Together, I know we can make this a success." Sarah smiled, her eyes shining with the same hope and determination. "Then let's do it, Mark. Let's take this chance and see where it leads." With their decision made, Mark and Sarah knew they were stepping into a new chapter of their lives. They had faced betrayal and hardship, but together they had found redemption and the promise of new beginnings. Their journey was a testament to the power of resilience, passion, and the transformative power of love. As they looked around the now empty restaurant, they felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. Savory Haven had been more than just a place to eat. It had become a symbol of their shared dream and hard-won success. Hand in hand, Mark and Sarah knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, with Emily by their side, ready to embrace the new adventure.